Hi, good evening. Again, my name is Kathe Gabel. I'm a senior here on campus. And this summer through ROTC, I was given the opportunity to participate in a medical internship at Landstuhl, Germany. And Germany is one of the first stops for downrange soldiers who are in critical care before they come back to the States. So for the first week, I was in the emergency department, where I saw a lot of routine minor injuries that you would see at any normal ER. And then the second half of my internship I spent in the OR, where I was told that because of the several months, the number of casualties coming from down ward had been decreasing, so a lot of routine procedures and scheduled procedures were being done. So I saw gallbladder removals, hernia repairs, and stuff like that. But on my last week there, we had a 23-year-old male come in from Afghanistan. He was on a dismounted patrol when he was hit by an IED. And the main issue was his left side. His right leg was completely shattered, so they had to insert rods in his leg to try to correct the bones. However, on his left thigh, a large portion of his muscle and tissue was missing, which exposed his femur, which was also broken at the time. He had burns and lacerations all over his body. And because of the location and environment that he suffered, bacteria was a huge concern, so infection was one of the big things surgeons were looking out for. So he underwent 4 surgeries in 5 days. And each time he went in, they removed more and more tissue, trying to get some of the dead tissue to prevent the infection from spreading throughout his body. And they had to do a large incision on his left calf to prevent compartment syndrome, the swelling. Finally, after the 5 surgeries, they determined that his best chance of survival was to just amputate the leg. And because of the severity of the injury, they had to do a full amputation from the hip. So I, however, was not able, my internship ended before I was able to see him come out of recovery. However, the surgery did go well, his amputation. But it was a very difficult choice for the surgeons to make. They did everything they could to try to save his leg. They tried several different techniques to remove the tissue to prevent the infection from spreading. But even though the choice was difficult, they had used all of the advancements in medicine, a lot better than what you just saw. So that was definitely an improvement. But even though he came out with an amputation, he was in very good care. The advancement in technology in the medical field is incredible, and it continues to advance every day. And I am actually going into PA school upon completion of my degree here. So I look forward to serving in the medical field and hopefully have a chance to influence and save some lives downrange. So, thank you.
Watching the time, I'm going to skip over just a couple things. This was really interesting. I'll tell you the story, though. He was the first amputee of the Civil War, and he basically then went on to develop a whole program of developing artificial limbs. It was just an amazing story. James Edward, that Edward keeps repeating itself, but they called it the hanger limb. And so he had a full business with that. And now we're going to have Josh come up and talk and do the next slide. Yeah, this is Josh Morley. Again, just imagine him in uniform, short hair.
There's some pictures if you guys need them. If some of you can remember the homework Dr. Gabel had earlier in regards to the troops eating, the dynamic difference between the two. She's a future officer, so you know which table she was going to be at. I was in the other people on the other end. So despite my youthful appearance, I've been in the Army 9 years and with the Reserve Unit here in Billings, 592nd Ordnance. We're pretty much give ammo, so we help get ammo to the warfighter. My 2 tours overseas, the first one was to Iraq, Operation Iraq Freedom. That was 2006 to 2007. That was a 15-month deployment. And the last one was Afghanistan, Operation Enduring Freedom. That was very kind of freaky because we actually deployed on September 11th, 2010, so it's kind of eerie. But that was for only a year, only. So out of all my deployment times, I must throw out there that I'm sorry, I am just this much like you come to college, you get kind of a broad stroke of classes and you dabble in a little bit of everything. You don't really go to depth on any one subject until you go into your specialty. The battle tactics is not my specialty, so I'm just going to come on and say it. I'm an ammunition guy. We get ready to deploy. We kind of do a broad stroke at everything, just because worst case scenario, you are a soldier, you're expected to perform as a soldier. So even though I could gripe him on all day, what do you mean go to the front gate? I'm the ammo guy. If the doors are getting beat down, you're a soldier, get to the front gate. So with as much as I can give you, as far as battle tactics go, I can say the dynamic has changed considerably from the Civil War. I had no idea what Napoleonic tactics were until 2 weeks ago when Dr. Gabel informed me about it. So definitely that comes with the technological advances with the weaponry, more precise guns. She alluded to it earlier that the Napoleonic tactics maintained for a while, even after small advances with weaponry came about. So that might have something to do with increases in casualties. The weapons are now more accurate, but they were still all bunched together because they're trying to hit anything. These guns are so inaccurate. If we all kind of huddled together, much like stuffing a bunch of, was it 48 millimeter? How small the bullet was? They just 44 cal. Shove on the cannon, shotgun effect will hit something. So as far as tactics go, as far as the dynamic from I've seen from my first tour till now, the battle has changed a lot over the course of a decade, and the war's still going on. We still have troops in Afghanistan. And the tactics gone more from a not you're fighting a person anymore. It's kind of just a very defensive, what can we do to make sure we stay alive and just keep the mission going. So foot patrols you definitely will not see. I mean, that's something, especially in urban ops, there's just too many variables you got to account for. So it's definitely just a defensive, a lot of things, stepping on landmines and things of that nature still happen in those special forces units and whatnot that actually do those patrols. They would definitely run into that type of stuff where they're in hand-to-hand. But for the most part, everything, I'm pretty sure anyone's probably YouTube or seen something on the news, it's all IEDs, improvised explosive devices, VBEDs, vehicle-borne improvised explosive devices. It's a lot of things of that nature that's hidden. So from that viewpoint and from what I've seen and what the training I've gone through has prepared you for is being able to identify things that would stand out. So if you're more in a convoy and you're trying to watch for little discrepancies and kind of things that are out of place. So if you're in a convoy, a lot of times what the enemy would do, they would definitely not come out and attack us. We're America. We can take on anything face to face. So they're going to hide, who knows where. They're going to have a remote detonated device, but they're going to need some kind of marker. So they'll put maybe a tire on the side of the road. They'll put some trash. So these are the types of things in the earlier part of the war that we're trying to get over. So where these little things are using the mark. And so then we start to get smart on identifying them before they get detonated, when you get close to it. So then they got smart. They're like, well, shoot, because now they're finding out ways to identify it. We got to hide it and conceal it. And then after that, we found out ways to disarm those explosive devices. And they're like, crap, well, they're disabling those. What can we do to amp it up a bit? Well, then it was remote detonation. Well, then we combated that with a very, very elaborate system that blocked radar, blocked any kind of radio signals. So, and then after that, this was from my last tour in Afghanistan, now they've just gone back to the basics. So they're like, okay, if they can jam any signal on the planet Earth, we'll just go back to phase one, 7 years ago, and it's working because we went through this whole progression and spanned the course of a decade. They almost forget the old tactics and they just kind of move back to that. So as far as that goes, it's definitely not what you would see from the Civil War. It's definitely more, what can you do for communications? The Air Force is involved, it's things of that nature. It's nothing compared to what it is now. I mean, someone in my position, I've seen some stuff, but I mean, it's nothing compared to what the actual foot soldiers would get to see. But I guarantee some of them would probably even say, not even close to that. It's definitely, the war fighting has advanced quite a bit from the last 150 years. So that's my spiel. We'll just get this thing rolling.
So what we've gone through is basically the reflection, the respect, and the revolutionary. What I want to do is just quickly, I want to dedicate to all the unsung heroes of the Civil War as well as the current wars. I think it's so important that we recognize that there's a lot of people involved. And I have a few quick slides. There's a lot of people that we haven't mentioned. What about the individuals that were actually taking the pictures? We have those pictures, but we forget that they're out there too, taking those pictures. What about the communications? They were involved with the Civil War as well. This was the Secret Service. What about refugees? People, leaving those towns that were being devastated. We sometimes don't mention the Navy, but there was a Navy, and again, nurses were taking care of the wounded of the Navy. And the devastation. What about the people that were left, in those towns, in those cities that had been totally destroyed? They had to rebuild from that. That then covers that section, but I have just a quick clip. And again, it's showing respect to all of the people. And I'd like to have Josh and Cami come up, and I just made some notes. I have some other people that are behind the scenes, and so I want these people to come up as well. Darlene and Brent, without you, we wouldn't have this series, so you have to come down. Yes. I'm going to bring the lights up just a little bit. Where's Darlene? Come on. This is how, teachers ask and they just sit there. I also want Daryl Williams. Daryl, are you here? Okay, he might not have been here. He basically helped me with the computer, the laptop, and then Mikey Chai, he's at Bible study, so he couldn't come. But he's the one that took I gave him the YouTube videos. He changed them into MP3 files. I tried it, I messed it up, and so I gave it to Mikey. So he helped quite a bit. Also, Darlene, where are you? Okay, come on up. Yes, you have to come up. This dress is what she made for me. She is truly professional and a lovely person. I can't wait to get to know her more. I knew when I met her at the fabric store, she had already done her homework. She had fabrics out, the pattern out, she was on the ball. I also want to recognize Stephanie, who is my niece. She's not here tonight, but remember that apron that I had on earlier? She made that for me. So, congratulate to her. Sydney, where are you? Come on up. She did some background work on Edward Ayers, and she wanted the real documents. She wouldn't take it just from a book. She wanted the real stuff. And so, thank you. And then Randy, of course, he has served so much. He plays at so many different military funerals. And he has lots of stories, as you might know, and I really appreciate all the garb that you've brought in. And then Keith, you have to come up too. Where are you? I was hoping that you'd be here. I didn't know if you were going to be. But you'll note that we named the Lincoln Room. But I truly appreciate these people. And again, I want you to recognize how many people it took to do this presentation. A person really does not do it by themselves. Thank you. Thank you. Now, Keith is standing back here thinking, okay, where's my flower? He doesn't get one. Keith, come on over here. Come on. You get all the books. Those are the books that I used to put the presentation together. And again, there were some heartbreakers, tearjerkers, but really interesting reading. If you have some of those books, you know where they go next. To the library. And I have one more. You can switch it to the last slide. And it's to my mom. For coming tonight and staying after. Sometimes students just leave. So thank you.